Testament is his chapter, as well as a new book by this white boy, Gary Greenberg. I just put the thing up on what you call it. No, that's not really the book. I just brought the cover. Gary Greenberg, which is a Jewish motherfucker here. Gary Greenberg is the president of the Biblical Archaeological Society of New York. He is also a member of the American Research Center in Egypt, the Archaeological Institute of America, the Society of Biblical Literature, and the Egyptian Exploration Society. He serves as the senior trial attorney of the Criminal Division of Legal Aid Society of New York City. So this is a top-notch cracker that wrote the book, The Moses Mystery. This is the hardback version, which is, if it's still out, $24.95. But to get the paperback version is called the Bible Myth now. Same book, different title. That's because them goddamn Jews got on his ass and stuck it to his motherfucking ass. You see. So you don't fuck with them Jews. And although he is a Jew, you see, he changed that paperback to the Bible Myth. Same book, Moses Mystery hard, like the Sirius Mystery, Orion Mystery. He put the Moses Mystery hardback. Them Jews got his ass, and he changed that shit to the Bible Myth softback. Same book. He just changed the name of the cover and changed the name of the cover. You see, that's because them Jews got on his ass. Because you got to realize the Jews want to of the Jewish people. So he's saying the damn Jews are. Then So they say, oh, you can say that type of stuff, but we got to take that Moses thing off and put the Bible. You know, they apply pressure to your ass. Moses Mystery, you see what I'm saying, contains that 12 tribes of Israel never existed. No, because all this old Hebrew bullshit, there's no such thing as no 12 fucking tribes or no damn Egypt. The 12 C3BL should have taught you that. You see what I'm saying? Israel is ISIS, Ra. You see what I'm saying? So 12 Isaac and Jacob were characters of the Egyptian mythology. I tried to tell this asshole nigga this the other day. Every time I try to tell somebody that's fucked up, stuck in some damn religion, they say, I cannot believe that Moses and Solomon, Abraham and Solomon and Isaac and them never existed as historical people. They never. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were characters in Egyptian mythology. The story of Jacob and Esau, for example, draws together several myths about the Egyptian god Horus and Set, feuding twin brothers who fought together even in their mother's wombs, weaves together into a story of biblical patriarchs. You see, the first of the Pharaoh Akhenaten, whose attempt to introduce monotheism into Kemet or Egypt engendered rage among the religious establishment. Moses served as high priest in Akhenaten's cult after Akhenaten's death, and had to flee Egypt to avoid execution. The campaign to eradicate the vestiges of Akhenaten's heresy, eliminating the evidence stone by stone and word for word. As a result, Akhenaten remained lost to history until the 19th century, when Egyptologists discovered his ruins of his capital city. Horemheb died. Moses returned to Hemmitt, united with the followers with their enemies of Hemmitt, and attempt to seize the throne of Ramesses I. The coup failed. To avoid civil war, Moses and his allies followed safe passage out of Hemmitt. This was called the Exodus. After entering Canaan, the Egyptian followers of Moses formed military allies with the Canaanite kings and with some of the recent arrived Greek invaders known as the Sea People, which is probably the damn Phoenicians. The non-tribal alliance in small kingdoms and the city-states became the biblical Israel. So this whole story is based on that. So this is the newest one that's, like I said, that's Ahmed Osman's book, 1990. Ahmed Osman's book, Moses, Pharaoh of Egypt. You got the 1940-something book that came out later, Moses and Monotheism by Sigmund Freud. You got the Gerald Massey's volume 2 of his Book of the Beginnings, the Egyptian origin of the Exodus as traced from the monument. And you have also Charles Finch's book, Echoes of the Old Dark Land, with his chapter, Thematic Origins of the Exodus, as well as Gary Greenberg's book, the latest entry into this thing, The Moses Mystery in hardback, African Origins of the Jewish People, or in paperback, it's called the Bible. Got on his behind. What's that, brother?
There's a book called The People of the Sea by Emmanuel Velikovsky.
Yeah, Velikovsky, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just happened to be reading one of those used bookstores, and it mentions Atlantis and how they had an exodus because he
He also understood that Emmanuel Velikovsky, you're right, The People of the Sea, he also has one on Akhenaten also too. But the actual king that was the heretic king that fell out with the people of Kemet was not Moses. That was his priest. It was Akhenaten. That's the historical shit. We need to get that right on the eve of this bullshit movie. But if you understand the mythology, then you have the metaphysical mythology shit. Because in order to get a complete story, there was the historical thing that I just told you, what happened. Then the actual mythology that's in the Bible based on Exodus. That's a different thing. They literally took an ancient scripture that the Egyptians and the Ethiopian had, as well as the Greek and all the rest of it, and put that together and made that to, see, they could take some history thing and put a mythology to it and make it even more miraculous. So the whole thing of splitting the Red Sea and all that shit. You see what I'm saying? And leading the people out into freedom. Now there's an eschatology of some shit that's supposed to happen now. Now, I want you to understand where I'm coming from here, because this is some amazing shit. The original version of the mythology, now there's a difference between mythology and history. The mythology is a story, and most of the mythological stories is either talking about the origins of something or the end of something. So the which is talking about end-time prophecies. So the thing of a people coming out of bondage is soothe over this shit. Because the way they immortalize a person, you take the mythological story and you put a historical person in it. So the way to do that, the actual mythology that comes, eschatology thing talking about end-time prophecies of a people coming out of bondage. And they come out of bondage by splitting the Red Sea, because the Red Sea is the Kundalini energy that takes your ass out of bondage when your third eye opens. And then you receive the 10 Commandments, which is what? The Akashic records. With Akash meaning what? Black substance, melanin, the Akashic records. So one is a metaphysical story, one just woven into a historical story. Y'all getting this? Right. You see. So now, for the mere fact that them crackers got this shit playing on this tape, because I'm turning this shit around tonight. So, remember, Israeli dominance, and like you said, in Israel, the state of Israel, and your brother Jay talked about that. The state of Israel is nothing but the 42nd state. What is the 51st state of United States of America? By them still trying to save the state of Israel, which will also save America. You see what I'm saying? By them trying to do that shit, thinking they're getting over, they're actually unleashing a actual ritual into the so-called astral plane and sending that type of stuff to manifest the real. You see, because the whole deal is this is the 50-year anniversary of the state of the fake state of Israel, 1948, 1998. So you know that this Prince of Egypt is their whole DreamWorks shit with Steven Spielberg is the whole bullshit to try to celebrate that bullshit. But anyway, what they don't realize is even the Moses story said the next time you try to fuck me over, whatever you try to judge me with will be your own judgment, be your own doing. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, it's gonna backfire on you. So go see the movie just to get not for the historical thing. You know that never happened. But go see the movie just to get more of an understanding of the document of us coming out of bondage now, because the Exodus story is actually a story of later. It's like one of your apocalyptic stories. You see. But they basically put it at the beginning of the book when they put the book. But the Torah was written 700 years after Moses. You see what I'm saying? After the so-called priests. You see what I'm saying? So that's one key that you got to also understand based on this Prince of Egypt thing. Another thing we want to deal with right now is also to do some things because to deal with some stuff also just for this particular part of the actual country is this particular Yaqub thing. So we need to deal with a little bit of that particular history right now on another spin on some things, on some other things that was actually going down, and this is the spin on that. Rudolf Steiner's book, Atlantis and Lemuria, which the only way you can get it now is through Health Research, which is another out-of-print book company. And that particular book company, because Rudolf Steiner got about, if you go to the Borders, the Barnes and Nobles, the best of Border, you might see 10 or 12, 13, 15 of his books. But the one Atlantis and Lemuria, you never can find it. They reprinted it one time in Atlanta, a place out of Stone Mountain back here in the early 90s. But basically, the main book is from, you got to get from the out-of-print book company. Now, why is this? Because this particular book, he talks about this Manu selecting a germ from a people and creating a new race of people, identical to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. Now, as you noted, the Rudolf Steiner was also best friends or contemporary with H.G. Wells. So H.G. Wells, Zation form of it, his novel of it, called The Island of Dr. Moreau. You see, same thing, he just wrote the novel form of it, because they were all probably in the same fucking fraternity, mainly some type of Rosicrucian order. Because this was a story of the Rosicrucians that was left behind by the Moors. You see what I'm saying? And certain Sufi teachings, based on Master Farad Muhammad, we know now having some type of Sufi background. When they say he was taught for so many years in the East, we're talking about a Sufi order that would teach more of an esoteric version of Islam other than the Orthodox shit or bow down to all our shit. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about him being of some Sufi order. So therefore that Sufi order, and Suf means the word woolly-haired one. You see what I'm saying? Means woolly-haired one. So this whole thing about, the sister was talking about wool being a barbarian thing. No, because wool is what the ancient Moors wore wool to represent the woolly hair. They wore wool-type clothing, too. So this is another thing that you need, you know, because people don't study the what-you-call-it and all. They don't know this type of stuff. So the word Suf means woolly-haired one, which is talking about the black people. So, therefore, Sufi is basically an adjective. What's an adjective? To describe something, that's an adjective. And it's an adjective describing the Moors. So his black Moors, the Moabites, it's also in the Bible, Lemuria, Camemoria, Camur, Moreau, Dr. Moreau. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Merlin, El Morey, which is the chief, one of the saints from the whole Mormon people. The word Mormon, man. El Morey is one of their saints. So they basically, John Smith and them got their teachings from Moors. You see what I'm saying? So got their teachings from Moors. You see. So instead of saying Moor, because if you study the history of Moor, that go back to black. And if you especially see the Greeks talking about the Moabites or the Moors, then you know it's not an Islam phenomenon. You see what I'm saying? Which also there's a hieroglyphic in one of Budge's books for Moor, so we're talking about Egyptian origin. So basically, they had to get rid of the Moor thing, and all of a sudden it's this Sufi Muslim. No, it's the Moorish science. Sufi is describing the woolly-haired one. So the island of Dr. Moreau and all of that type of stuff, because remember the Moors set up this York Rite, Scottish Rite, Knights Templar, Rosicrucian, and all that stuff literally came from the Moors' teaching. And one of the Moors' doctrine is this Yaqub story. You see what I'm saying? Is this Yaqub story, which you got a temple, which is one of the Hyksos deities, Yaqub Kerr. I got a little bit of, I got a lot of that I'm talking about is in my book, Human Artificials, but it's been Xerox so many times as far as not here, but as far as other people, they mixed the pages up since my original document. And numbers got lost and stuff, but you can find it in there and stuff. So it is literally fragments now. As it says on the thing, fragments, ancient fragments of the living devil. But anyway, it's also in there of Yaqub Kerr, also translated in Donald B. Redford's book, Egypt, Canaan, and Egypt. Israel, Canaan, and Egypt. But anyway, it's in the Human Artificial book. But anyway, dealing with this particular science, you get Manu in Rudolf Steiner's thing is Manu started a race of people, and in what's the name said Moreau, because he's also dealing with the Moor, which is just basically black, Lord of the earth. Started a new race of people by selecting a germ. So to give you the Manu thing, Manu was actually Yaqub's teacher. So I know this kind of sounds good, but see, the thing about it is we got documents now. We got the Temple of Yaqub in Kemet. We can document that now. We got the temple walls of Seti I, which is 4 races of men. I talked about that the last time. And one of the men is called a Tamahu, and the Tamahu means created white man. So we're dealing with scholarship now. As a matter of fact, it's so much doggone scholarship until I got to do a damn near another 20 pages once I find my original copy. Or I might just have to create a whole new book altogether just to doggone document this stuff. That's how much stuff has come in. What's that?
Some other evidence also that the people that they're trying to protect over there in Iraq, the Kurds, out on the mountain, are direct descendants of the bloodline of these original mutants. And that's where the Kurds are trying to establish an independent land in Iraq.
Oh.
No fly zone, all that stuff over in Iraq. But the Kurds are still up in the mountains there. That's ancestors of these Caucasians. That's why
right.
Talking about helping those people get established and protecting their entities and so forth. Because that's the ancestors.
That's the remnant. That's a lot of stuff, you see what I'm saying? And it's that type of stuff, because truth is stranger than fiction. So, Yaku's teacher. And basically, in the mystery schools of Atlantis and Lemuria, they were teaching gene splicing. But it wasn't a thing that had gotten out of hand, or some stuff that they was doing at that particular time that was, it wasn't no more than cloning what it was. But a group from the original priesthood, and they were more like in junior high school. So other than the technicality of learning how to do this, the priest had to learn every discipline in the world. Every discipline in the world. These particular crew broke off Yakub and his crew and went up into Europe. But other than the thing about they created in Africa and they chased them out of Africa, that's later mythology. The real key is the incubation place where they created this damn beast was in the caves. Now, to let you know because see, this is how I put a shit on a motherfucker ass. That way no black ass son of a bitch can come to me talking no dumb shit about, oh, that's not right. You're going to have to go with evidence. Because, see, I come with scholarship. So, therefore, I'm going to come with some more stuff. Now, I'm giving stuff. We got Atlantis and we got that with Rudolph Steiner. But then again, you got to understand how people do shit. Because the first thing they'll say, well, that's just some white man writing about it. See, because our people, a nigga is something. He will fight to the end if he don't want to believe something. It's right in their face. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to give them another thing to just knock that shit right out the box in a few damn minutes. Well, I'll give it to them now. The oldest material on the earth is the Hermetic material that came out of the Library of Alexandria. Now, first of all, let me give the documents here. First of ancient Hemmitt of the Temple of Seti I. You got them a water? Yeah. Yeah, give me some of them. Yeah, the Temple of Seti I. Give me one of those. Which is documented in Gerald Massey's book. Well, it's documented in two books. First of all, it's documented, what's the name tells the whole story of the Tamahu. Gives the whole story of the Tamahu. In your boy's book, Sheikh Anta Diop's book, Myth and Reality, African Origins of Civilization, Myth and Reality. And he gives the whole thing of the Tamahu, but he leaves out one page of where the Tamahu means created white people. That's because he's married to a white woman. Okay, he gives that, but Gerald Massey prints it in Book of the Beginning, Volume 1, page 27, which I got all in the Human Artificial. I took all that and put it in the Human Artificial. Page 27, he prints it about the created white man, 4 races of men, the Ruti, which is the original man, and the Suti, West African, North African, and then there's the Himu, which is hair in a bag. It's talking about there's the Rap, which is also talking about a Semitic person, which would be my complexion. And then they talked about the actual Tamahu, the created white man. Then they said the Ruti and the Suti created both the Himu and the Tamahu. And so they probably created the Himu just by basically mating with the Tamahu after they created that or whatever, based on years. But the Tamahu is the created white man. You see what I'm saying? Now, that's one evidence on that particular part. Other historical evidence is the Hermetic material is the oldest material in the world. Some of the oldest material in the world. That was wrestled out of the Library of Alexandria during Greek times. During the Ptolemy period when the Greeks ruled. Now, in Hermetica, documented, Walter Scott, putting it in a person's face. In Walter Scott's book, Hermetica, it's always funny that anytime some shit come with the white boy, all of a sudden stuff get hard to find. But Hermetica is still in print, put out by Shambhala Press. And most of the time, Boiler's bookstore does sell Hermetica, Walter Scott. Now, there's a smaller one, but they were talking about the bigger one, the gray one, put out by Shambhala Press, 1992 or 93. I think 93. That one is still in print. Sometimes they won't order it because I think they got a list of books that they tell them to discourage black people not to get. But in the section in the book, Walter Scott's Hermetica, under the part of Asclepius, which is Imhotep, Asclepius, there's a section in there that said that the greatest mistake that man made was learning how to make another man. Now you got it in black and white. All the so-called scholars, I'll put it in their ass because we got the doggone shit. So I don't want to hear no shit now. This white man is not human. You see, hue means color, or the who God man, because the God who is known as the Sphinx. There's another name for it. You see, or Kahuti. You see what I'm saying? Who or Ku also means pyramid. You see what I'm saying? So, but in the Hermetic material, it says that, and I'll get the page number the next time. So, I'll get the page number the next time so you'll know. It says that the great to doggone Harrisburg, and I was talking to a guy, and he was talking about the two-cradle theory of Diop, and I was telling him about the man. I said, look, man, listen to me, man. The white man was created, and for some reason, this motherfucker was so insane, he couldn't even register this. He kept right on talking right over me. I look at this thing, talking about the Diop shit, I say, wait a minute. Now, you going to take what the goddamn Egyptians say, or you going to take what fucking Diop ass said, who was married to a cracker? Or you going to take what the Temple Wall of 31 said? You see, so we got that particular document. Now, to go into this particular process, Yaku remembers like junior high school students broke off. The key is that not only, see, the key is you can create a human body, which is nothing but a fucking android or a clone. The only difference between a clone and a human or a real person is a human has a soul and a clone doesn't. So you're the first clones. You see what I'm saying? They're the first robots. So basically this cloning, so it didn't take, see the whole Yaku thing of they mixing all this race and it took them all that thing, that's mythology. That's trying to explain some things in a portion to a people that might not understand a greater genetic experiments based on scientific. But the real Yaku thing is they clone these motherfuckers straight adults. You see what I'm saying? Just like they clone now a sheep, it was that instant. Get the movie Judge Dredd, when you will see the cloning process up in there, or the movie Fifth Element. You see. So it didn't take 600 years. You see. You see what I'm saying? They grew this shit just like you grow a fucking cabbage. You see what I'm saying? So they understood that particular science on how to do this particular thing. You see? On how to do this particular thing. Now, so the incubation period was not that long, but they cloned them up in Europe. Now, the first, because you got to realize the difference with Yaku now in them. But this was a little more, this particular experiment was not the same cloning as the cloning of, it's not the same cloning as the cloning that we have now, because the cloning that we have now, if they originally cloned them, they would have come out black. See what I'm saying? They weren't interested in making a duplicate of the same thing. You understand where I'm coming from here? They were interested in making another race altogether, and to do that, they had to have been greater geneticists than just the thing of just duplicating something. So he had to make his own creation. So therefore they used pig genes, ape genes, and all of that type of stuff. So the first one to come out did not look like the white man. Well, that's a later evolved version. The first one that came out looked something like an ape-type family with human genes, so it was a little more intelligence, and so that's where you get your Sasquatches from. You see. So that's your first thing. Later on, you would have the actual other part, but if you create anything and leave it somewhere to evolve by itself, it will literally go barbaric. And that's what happened. But because it has an aspect of us, the intellect evolved over the years. Intellect is the lowest thing on the planet. That ain't shit. You see what I'm saying? It's the spiritual thing that is greater. You see. So in actuality, it's the spiritual thing that is greater. So over the course of years, it evolved. You see what I'm saying? Now the key is what Manu was dealing with. Manu and them, the original mystery school teachers, the original mystery school teachers were, they knew how to create a physical body and then take us and literally put a soul in it. So these particular ones knew how to make an actual human with a soul. That's the difference. The other ones didn't because the Europeans don't have no soul. Having spirit is nothing. Roaches have a spirit. You see what I'm saying? A spirit is just a life force that moves and functions. Animals have spirits, but a soul is a total different thing. Exactly, you know, a total different thing, whatever. Now, which is interesting because, now I'm going to see if I can find this thing. Because, see, I'm going to put some other shit in people's face, too. Now, because I found so much, but in, this is the Nag Hammadi Library. This is the Gnostic scriptures that was dug up in 1945. In 1945. This is the stuff this is the other pharaonic thought, but it's translated from Coptic, part Greek, on into English. And basically, for the word Horus, Mithra, Abraxas, and all of them, they literally went in and took, and basically put Jesus over that, but you know the deal on that. They just changed the name. But in the Apocalypse of John, there's the Gospel of John, then there's the Apocalypse of John. In here, they go into, another creation story of the white man. So now, we putting it right in their face again, because they're saying that Elijah Muhammad was bullshit, but now we got the actual hieroglyphic scriptures of what the Egyptians, see the pharaonic thought now, we got the pharaonic thought now of what the pharaohs say, translated into later day Coptic, and on into what we got now, and into Greek. So before the temples closed down in Hemmitt, before the last temple closed, they had all the other temples closed. They said, we got to take all this stuff and put it into Coptic and into Greek. So they translated whole volumes of papyrus from hieroglyphic, because they knew that language would later on be lost. Hieroglyphics on into Coptic and Greek. So this is the pharaonic thought. So I don't want to hear no shit from the people out there in TV land who still thinking that Elijah Muhammad is bullshit. So in here, in the Apocalypse of John, which is which starts on page 104 of the Nag Hammadi Library. The Nag Hammadi Library, edited by several authors, but edited by James M. Robinson. It came out in 1977. So we only had this stuff about 21 years now. In the Nag Hammadi Library, it says, I said to them, Lord, the souls of those who did not do these works, but on whom the power and the Spirit descended. Will they be rejected? He answered to me, the Spirit descended upon them, and they will in any case be saved, and they shall change for the better. But for the power will descend on every man. Without it, no man can stand. Now, after they are born, and then the spirits of life is increased, and so. Now, increase. But the power comes and strengthens the soul, and no one can be led astray with the works of evil. Now, I'm going to try to get to the particular part. The Lord so-and-so, so-and-so. Here it is on page 20. And the Lord said, where there will be souls, where the souls will go, then they will have come out of their flesh. And he smiled and said to me, O soul which with the power will become stronger than the counterfeit spirit. And the stronger, from the counterfeit spirit. Now, I want to get to the particular part, what it's talking about here. And stronger, and it flees from evil. And so, corruptible, whatever the deal is, but I'm trying to get to this particular part. In so many words, I think I'm going to have to just go ahead and tell you, because this thing is a lot. And the Lord said, from there did the counterfeit spirits, from where did the counterfeit spirits come? From the first mother, father, rich mercy, happy spirit, whatever the deal is. But anyway, they go on in here and they say basically that because I think it's all the way at the end too, and it talks about this. It said basically you got the spirits of the original God people, and in order to hold them down, there was a certain entity that had to come about and create what is called a counterfeit spirit. And that counterfeit spirit would help and aid in keeping the original people down. So they said you had the original spirits, and then you had this counterfeit spirit that was created. And that counterfeit spirit will keep the original people down, and they say it will keep them. And not only does it say that, it also says, and because of this counterfeit spirit, the original spirit will be deceived and fooled to the end days, all the way to the end. But then it goes and say, but now I am here. So that is the Christ, Horus, or whatever you want to call the Christ, or your own soul that knows what time it is, and say, now I am here, and this whole business is supposed to stop. You see what I'm saying? So they're talking about this particular counterfeit spirit, but it's also in the Nag-Hammadi library based on this. The Nag-Hammadi library is written by ancient people. First of all, this is the James M. Robinson is the guy who edited it. But there's several authors that translated it. But the Nag-Hammadi library, which we're going to deal with some other stuff right now, because we get ready to go right now into the history of Gnosticism.
That spirit was put into the Tamahu?
Yes, basically what happened is that although Yakub and a physical man did the work, they were influenced by some other spirits in heaven for them to do the job. And so that's the part we're going to get into right now, is the history of Gnosticism, because you got to understand this particular part. This particular part that's actually going on right now. You got to understand this particular part. So we're going to get into the history of Gnosticism. Whatever that stuff was, that thing gave me a whole lot of indigestion, boy. That food. Yeah. Yeah, that Queen Latifah. Good going down, though. But it was good going down, though. But now dealing with this particular part, we're going to deal with this particular history of Gnosticism. Now, the history of Gnosticism is this. You got your Typhonianism, and later on, that's the oldest teachers in the world. And it survives Later, it survives all these particular years, and later on in Alexandria and also in Roman occupation of Hemmitt, this particular stuff started coming up, and it started calling itself the Gnosticism, or what they call, by a group of priests called the Sethians. We didn't know what this particular stuff was until it was dug up in 1945. There was a few books, the Piece of Sophia that was around that G.R.S. Mead did he did those particular books in the late 1800s, but we didn't get the complete thing until 1905. Till 1905. But anyway, basically what happened is this particular information is the original pharaonic thought, and is the original pharaonic thought. And so I'm going to get into some of the cosmology of this particular thing, of this particular thing right now on what happened. Now, this is some of the original version of the creation. First of all, the creator, the person who created us in the physical, is our enemy. This particular person, let me hold the book. This particular person, to deal with what you call it, well, I got some other notes here. This particular person, let me see where the doggone notes are. This particular person is going to go by the name of IALDAB AOTH. Adalabroth, I'd say Adalabroth. Now, Adalabroth. And basically, Adalabroth, in so many words, was you had the great mother, and she had some children. That particular child she had broke away from her and was not all the way created. And because he was not all the way created, he did not have the essence to make a complete creation. You see what I'm saying? He is an inferior being, and therefore he made an imperfect creation, because he does not have the complete essence to make a real creation. So this particular deity called Adalabroth literally broke away from the mother, barricaded himself off in one section of the universe, which would basically be the Milky Way solar system. He stole a little bit of light from her, and that particular light he stole from her, he used to create the other planetary spheres, which were actually planetary intelligence. They are called the Archons. Now, it's interesting because the Boulé are called the Grand Archons. You see, the Boulé. They're called also the so Archons and stuff. So he created his helpers. He created his particular helpers, and they broke away from the original creation. And after they created the planets, they said, let us create man. So as a result, they created man, but man at the time, that's why man at the particular time could not stand upright. So now to recorrect the mistake of this particular renegade child, tyrant child, what's that? Go ahead.
Adalabroth. Would this be the same as Tiamat that Zechariah speaks of a god in Tiamat?
No, Tiamat is the great mother.
Oh, okay.
That's Tiamat.
Oh, okay.
No, that's the great mother.
Okay.
That's the great mother. In our Tiamat story, Tiamat would be the same great mother that would have a son. So Marduk would be Adalabroth. Yahweh would be Adalabroth, and Jehovah would be a Dalabrath. Zeus would be a form of Dalabrath, and Ra. Difference between Ra and Amun-Ra. I said that the last time. Where's my damn pen? I don't know what you go there it is. Ra, by itself, is this tyrant. Amun-Ra is Osiris. You see, is Osiris. So Zeus in Greece, Jehovah would be a form of that. Yahweh would be a form of that. And basically a male deity ruling ship that doesn't have a mother counterpart would be a part of that. Now, Allah is different because Allah, how do you spell Allah? A-H. Allah, the la on the end of Allah is feminine. So this is the mother and son. The mother would be the moon or the crescent. The son would actually be the star. That's the difference between this word, because this particular word Allah, is also the word El Shaddai, but the word El is an ancient word that's all over the ancient world. That's different. You see, that's the difference between that. I'm going to put this back on the board. You know, there's the difference between that. Ra by itself would be this particular part, this particular part, and we have located it as our sun. Why is that? Because this particular sun does not shine nowhere else but on Earth. It don't shine out in the universe. So obviously this particular sun has to be a hologram or an artificial shit that's only permeating an aspect of the part based on the atmosphere around the planets. Because if you go out in goddamn space, it's dark out there. So obviously this shit has got to be a trickster. And because it's inferior, it does not have the actual energy to permeate the whole universe. The original sun is Sirius. Sirius. You see what I'm saying? The dog star is the original sun. You see. The sun behind the sun. This sun is only a reflection because it's getting its energy reflecting the energy of another sun. So it is in fact a subordinate creator. So it comes down and creates man, or first it creates the planets. And Dalabrath was boastful and arrogant, and exclaimed, "I am the Father God. Beyond me there is no other." But Sophia, which would be Nut, Tiamat, Gaia, Lilith, different aspects of it in different things, different sections of the world. But Sophia cried out to her son, "Lie not, Dalabrath, for thus which is Sirius, which is Greek for Osiris or Osir, Asor. No, it depends on what mythology you're dealing with. It depends on what mythology you're dealing with. It's also Orion. It's also Aset. You see what I'm saying? All of that particular thing. See, the thing about when you're dealing with these Egyptian stuff, or you're dealing with things, they are not sectarian. When you separate, you can separate them just to find a piece of the same aspect. But they all have the same attributes when you put them together. Anubis is a form of Sirius. Isis is a form of Sirius. Horus on the horizon, Harmaket, is called Horus of the Star, which is a form of Sirius. Orion is Osiris, but Sirius is a damn star in the Orion star system, which would be the heart of Osiris. You see what I'm saying? So all this stuff is still talking about the same locale. You see where I'm coming from here? The same locale. So it depends on what mythology you're dealing with to explain certain things, astronomical, astrological, different things like that. Yeah. But the original, no goddamn mistake about it, is Soot. That's the original name of Sirius. Soot. Or Set. Ptah is nothing but Set Typhon. You see what I'm saying? Is the form. See, Ptah, Amun-Ra, which means hidden God, and Osiris is all three aspects of the same entity. You see what I'm saying? All three aspects of the same entity. And that's the difference, you see.
The Twa had Ptah, so that's still Sirius.
That's Sirius, because another thing of this particular part is also Soot in a later part is called Beth. And Beth is Ptah. Depends on what section you are from. You're talking about thousands of years of history. You see what I'm saying? Names change based on what period you're in. But the original one is Set, the star of Set, or Soot, the primordial God of all time. So, going back to this thing here, this is very key that you understand this shit, because it's got a lot to do with what the fuck they doing these rituals to. So we right on the money, but you see, sometimes we just gotta get shit on tape so you can study, to try to understand things and clear stuff up. You see what I'm saying? What's that? Go ahead.
Sirius would also be the holographic also?
No, Sirius is, yeah, well, see, the thing about it is this here, too. Also, Sirius is what? Called Allah. Le would be the triple blackness of space, and Al is another name for Sirius. Also, Al is also a name for Horus. But it says, this is the God who created both male and female for one single ejaculated semen. He is the Lord of Sirius in the Surah of the Star. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? He is the Lord of Sirius. Now, you saying what?
Hologram.
Well, the whole universe is a hologram. I'm going to explain where Sirius is now in relationship to what this whole thing is about. Well, first of all, in the Hermetic material, when you go and get the Hermetic material, or either that little piece that I even, I don't know, it might have been in the beginning of the thing where it says, "Oh, Egypt, I tell you that Egypt is the, Asclepius, I tell you that Egypt is the kingdom of heaven." I think that particular part is in the thing you got. But it tells you in a couple of sentences down that heaven is now transferred to earth. So Sirius is now earth. Because Osiris is supposed to be lying in a mentor, and we are the fucking Osiris. But we are also Sirius. So that means that heaven is transferred from one location of the galaxy to another, or universe to another. This is Sirius now, or at least Sirius B.
Sirius B is supposed to be made of the real heavy matter, isn't it?
Yeah, the Sirius B, no, but the Sirius B, the heavy matter and stuff, is called tachyon, and tachyon is not but melanin. Sirius B is the deepest part of your subconscious. You see.
Now, one of them stars' creation is supposed to come from one of them stars.
Yes.
The heavy matter.
Yeah. Well, Sirius B is that great mother.
Right.
Sirius B is the great mother. Remember I told you that the great mother, I said Tiamat, I said Nut, and I said Gaia.
Right.
Well, what else they're called Gaia? Gaia is also called Earth now. Mother Gaia, Mother Earth. So if Gaia was in the damn beginning, Earth was in the beginning. See, the mythology, the Greek mythology, in the beginning was Tartarus, and Tartarus is now a mentor where Osiris resides. They say Tartarus and Gaia was in the beginning. Well, Gaia is now where the earth is. So heaven was transferred down here. You see what I'm saying? Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the oldest God live on earth. That's what Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. Came with the earth. You see? As a matter of fact, he even said that there was 8-foot-tall men that lived on Mars, but they worshipped the people they worshipped was the gods on earth. That's why they built the monument to Horus on the Mars. The same Sphinx thing and the pyramids. What's that?
Where does ISIS fit in the mythology?
ISIS, see, the thing about it is, you separate, you thinking these as multiple deities. The Great Mother, anytime you have a feminine aspect, she got 5 billion aspects of the same thing. Who the hell is Isis? Isis is Gaia. You see, you gotta, it's not so complex. You see what I'm saying? Right. One man and all the female deities sit for the other. One is the mother, one is the son. That's all the fuck exists anywhere. You don't even exist. There's only 2 things exist in the whole universe. The other thing is a hologram fooling your ass. So all the deities in Isis, all the damn feminine deities is the Great Mother, and she got a goddamn son. You see what I'm saying? It's real simple. The other stuff is the attributes. But then we get into other cultures that name those attributes, and we thinking it's a whole bunch of gods. Right. You see what I'm saying? So Isis, Sophia, Nut, Tiamat, Gaia, Hera, whatever these things, it's all the same aspects of the same thing. But they got one river that broke. But anyway, it says the dollar broth, boastful in act, claim, beyond me there is no other. But Sophia, hearing this, cried out, or Isis, cried out, like for a brother. The first son of man. Now, ain't that a bitch? That's the shit I've been trying to tell you the whole time. That's the mystery to everything. When the brother came in here the other damn day, and he was talking about, how could man be God? I said, no, you don't understand. I'm not just a God. I am all. You just hear this again? Look at this. This is some powerful shit right here now. This is good when it start coming together. Lie not a dollar broth, a and all and our mama. You see what I'm saying? Who has us? It's just that this to make light of this, and I'll get in that in a minute. Sophia, well, I'll go through that part in a minute. Let me just read this thing here. So all the okay, above the Father of all, the first. Made man, and he let's explain this thing. He comes up, he's created, he breaks off from the Creator. He says, there is nobody above me. because he's blind. He didn't dare look up and found out that there was somebody above his ass. Sophia, Isis, Newt, whatever says, do not lie. There is somebody above you, and he is man. She calls the thing out, or the Son of Man. The other because he created himself, and he created him a crew of people. The other, then a dog, Jehovah, Ra, because Ra overthrows Apep. Apep is the same great mother, the great dragon. She comes from Draco. But a dog cried out, let us make man in our own image. So they made man, and he laid like a worm on the ground. So sing. You see what I'm saying? Meanwhile, well, this thing is, because they brought it to a dollar broth, and Sophia snuck up and whispered in his ear and said, why don't you breathe breath into him? You see, breathe breath into him. So they brought him to a dollar broth, who breathed that so emptied himself of this light. So what he did was, she snuck up behind him. She says, why don't you blow life into this man? He blew this life into this man, and basically, the light that he stole to create himself, he blew in the man. But she snuck up behind him and blew the rest of the light, the one that he didn't stay around long enough to receive because he was premature, into man also. So man, and the light that she blew up into him was the Father, her Son, which was the chief God of heaven. This son Sirius, of this particular father, she blew through the Son into man, and we became more superior who created us in the physical. He created a physical body. She snuck up behind him and to recorrect this particular abortion that she had. She convinced him to blow, and when she blew, he blew his light, the light that he stole from her to create himself, as well as the essence that he didn't hang around with. He blew all that into man. You see, the light fluid that he had received from Sophia, and so emptied himself of his light, and man receiving it into immediately to the first man. And he also thanked the fabulous Elohim, or whatever his fabulous Elohims, or whatever the deal is. But it also goes in to talk about where about a dollar broth, Yahweh was just deprived Adam of the light spark by forming woman. So what he did was this. He said, I am a jealous God, and I will have no God before me. Why was he jealous? He was jealous of man down on earth. You see what I'm saying? So in something they talk about, he tried to deceive man by forming woman. And the six creative powers emanated Eve by her gracious sons, So you see, the mythology sometimes it'll talk about this, but on the other hand, in some other mythologies, like in the book Bornstones, the other Bible, they go in and say, Adam goes and has his son Set. He said, come about with me and let me walk and let me tell you some stuff. And he'll go in and